Hey guys, welcome back into the record room. I'm of course your host Tony Giles TG, and on today's episode I want to talk about the music to one of my favorite films of all time. The film in question has just had a brand new 4K UHD reissue and is William Friedkin's Crusing, starring Al Pacino. Now, if you've never seen this film, I can tell you now, it's not a film for everybody, and not everybody should see this film. It is, in my opinion, a cinematic masterpiece. Legendary director William Friedkin brings together Al Pacino, the 1970s New York gay scene, and a searing punk rock soundtrack in this one-of-a-kind serial killer thriller, finally restored to its long unavailable original theatrical version in 4K. Now, I'm not going to spoil the film for you, but I would say, if you've never seen it, and you like the idea of a William Friedkin, Al Pacino starring late 70s, early 80s serial killer thriller, this could be the film for you. Now, the film, I will say now, is set in the underground S&M world in 1980s New York. Well, 1980 New York. This package, this film here, even though I don't talk about films too much on here, this is a wonderful, wonderful set from Arrow. I just got done watching the 4K restoration. I'm blown away. I think it's absolutely fantastic. So if you haven't already picked this up and you're a fan, I would recommend doing so. Those Arrow project things, they always sell out really quickly. But Crusing, as well as being a fantastic film, has the most incredible soundtrack and score. It is just packed full of music. It's borderline a musical. There is so much musical content in that film. It's kind of crazy. And for the longest time, this is what we had. This is the Crusing soundtrack. Now, this is a Japanese version of the soundtrack, but for the longest time, this is how you could hear the music from the film Crusing. And it's got, you know, Willa DeVille, Mutiny, The Cripples. It's got some great songs on there that are featured in the film, but it doesn't actually have any of the Jack Nitzsche score, doesn't have any of the Barre Phillips orchestral stuff. It's kind of a shame, you know, it's one element of the Crusing soundtrack or Crusing score, one element of the music in the film. A fantastic one, but it didn't really scratch the Crusing itch enough for me. So I can't remember when it was. It was a few years ago, well, more than a few years ago, decade or so, maybe even longer. I was on the internet one day and it was kind of bugging me that I couldn't find the score for Crusing. You know, it just wasn't out there. And I thought, there has to be some information. So I went digging around on the internet and I came across this album. Now, this is Barre Phillips' 3-Day Moon. This came out in 1978 on the ECM label. This was the key that unlocked an incredible new world for me, because there is a piece of music in the film Crusing. It actually opens the film and you hear it repeated throughout the film. It's this bass melody. And I love the double bass and bass guitar as well. It's one of my favorite instruments. It bugged me for ages that I could not find this piece of music. And then I stumbled across this. This is that piece of music. The track AIA, the first track on this album. Essentially, Friedkin's just needle dropped this at the start of Crusing. And I know that Friedkin does that. He did it with Tubular Bells in The Exorcist. I heard this and my mind was blown. I was like, this is the piece of music I've been looking for. This is it. This is it. So between this and the Crusing soundtrack, well, I was done. That was it. I had my Crusing fill. I was like, well, it's not going to get any better than this, is it, ladies and gentlemen? I can close the book on the music of Crusing. Or so I thought. Because Waxwork Records, I don't know, when did this come out? 2018? So, you know, a while later, Waxwork announced this bad boy. A triple LP of the score and the soundtrack remastered from the original tapes. And this is gorgeous. I love the artwork on this. I know some people are probably like, what has that got to do with the film? This works on so many levels. I absolutely love and adore this packaging. I think it's fantastic. And not only that, it does come with an insert as well, which includes some liner notes from Mr. Friedkin himself. This is a wonderful triple LP set. I'll show you the discs here. I've got them to hand. All come in nice polyline sleeves. You know I'm a fan of a polyline sleeve. The first disc is on blue vinyl. The second disc is on black vinyl. And the third disc comes on white vinyl. And I appreciate that Waxwork went to the lengths of putting everything on a different color rather than just releasing everything as one color or some multicolored splatter. They stuck with the three colors and it works. It works with the artwork. It fits the mood. I'm a big fan. So after that, I was like, okay, Crusing's done. I have it all. I have everything I could possibly want, right? I couldn't possibly want anything else. But you know what I'm like? I am a fan of searching for things. And one day I just happened to casually be cruising on the internet. Actually, no, I wasn't cruising on the internet. Let me rephrase that. But I was looking around on the internet and I came across this. Now, what is this, you might be asking? Some of you might be thinking, I've never seen that before. Well, as I've spoken about on this program before, I am not a fan of bootlegs. I'm not an advocate for bootlegs. I understand that they hold a place in many record collectors' collections. Personally, I will try and avoid bootlegs as much as humanly possible. Unless it is an absolute necessity, I will not purchase a bootleg. And if I do own a bootleg and it comes out officially, I'll replace it. It's as simple as that. Not a fan of bootlegs, but fan-led projects. Now, fan-led projects I am a fan of, be it fan remakes of video games, fan re-edits, fan fiction. I'm a big fan of the fan community as a whole. And what this is here, this is a fan-made album, essentially. A-side and B-side. This is the music score as heard in the film, mixed by Jack Nitzsche and William Friedkin. So this is kind of the squirrely, you know, more orchestral ambient stuff. The side B, though, is the kicker on this for me, because what they've done, they've taken elements of the film and they've basically recorded, they've done a field recording. They've captured the background, what's going on in the atmosphere, in the area, and they've called it Crusing Locations. How cool is that? You've got the meatpacking district, the police precinct, the clubs, and Central Park. It's not often I listen to this, it's really not, but as soon as I put it on, I'm right there, and that is what ultimately a soundtrack or a score should really do. It should take you right to the movie or the project in question. So I am so grateful to have found this online. I can't actually remember who pointed me in the direction of this, but I found it and I'm so grateful that I was able to snag a copy of this before too long. So I'm done. That's it. I'm done with my Crusing collection. At least so I thought I was, because it doesn't end there. No. One of, if not my favorite electronic artists of the last 20 or 30 years is Pentagram Home Video. Back when I had a podcast, I believe I covered all of his releases. I collect everything Pentagram Home Video. I've been a fan for, well, since day one, essentially. And he released the most incredible album. Who's Here? I'm Here, You're Here. This is an album inspired by the film Crusing. It's electro, ambient, distorted, dancey. It's literally Crusing on an album reimagined. It is a fantastic score, or fantastic album, because it's not a score. This was released via the Death Warts Originals label. I mean, it looks fantastic. Looks so killer, so cool. And what's cool about this album, and the reason I'm talking to you about it now, is because on this brand new Arrow 4K set, you can listen to that album with this film. So the film that inspired that album, you can now listen to whilst watching this film. The only drawback is they've basically taken away all of the sound and played the music on the album. Basically, if you want to listen to the Pentagram home video alternative score, it takes away all the sound effects and any of the dialogue and things like that, and it plays over the scenes. Me, I'm cool with that. I've seen this film many, many times. I know exactly what's happening. The images, the visuals, the sound, it marries up, it works. If you grab this, I would highly recommend at some point watching it with the alternate score, which is the Pentagram home video album, because it is brilliant. It shone a new light on a film I've seen many, many times, and 2 thumbs up from me. I absolutely loved it. Now, as I said, this is not going to be a film for everybody, but the music, I defy it. It's just so good. There's early 80s punk rock, there's early 80s disco, dance music, the great orchestral score from Jack Nitzsche, the music from Barre Phillips. It's just, there is so much going on here. Crusing is literally a musical gift that keeps on giving. And if you've never heard it, I urge you to check it out as soon as possible. And if you've never seen the film, but I have piqued your interest, rent it, watch a trailer online, watch, you know, I think there's an Arrow Video YouTube channel where you can watch some, you know, bits of. It's a great film. It's a great, great film. I cannot recommend it enough. I think it's fantastic. Have you seen this film? Are you a fan? Let me know in the comments down below. But until we meet again, stay gold and spin those blackest circles.